Okay, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Looks like the floodgates are opening.
Yes, they are. Sorry, I had a little glitch right there. Okay, so, all right, and this is recording. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let's see how many people are coming in right now. All right, we're already up to 96. It's getting busy. Okay. All right, so we'll wait a couple more minutes. You see the numbers still rising. And then we'll get started. Okay, James says hi. All right. All right. Hello, James. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our May 6th meeting. We're going to get going in just a moment. Ollie, Michael. Okay, everybody's rolling in. Okay. And okay, so let's get started. Let's call the meeting to order. So again, my name is Emma Guest-Gonzalez. I'm the president of GANYC, and I welcome you all to our May 6th meeting. We are right now, let's see, the numbers are rising. We're going to be over 100 here, and this is in the webinar format. So all of you will only be seeing the 6 panelists. We have one more panelist coming. So we have 2 guest panelists, Dan Pitzer and Rafael Espinal, who will be speaking to us. Jeremy Wilcox, our treasurer, is going to be moderating the meeting. Moderating the chat. I'll be taking care of the meeting. Christina Lombardi, our member at large, will be taking care of our speaker, Mr. Rafael Espinal, and Kevin Lawrence will take care of Dan Pitzer, our second speaker for this evening. Now, all of the attendees, you are will not be speaking. You can be brought in as panelists as needed, and that's what we'll be doing for the participants when it's time to be giving the different reports. So the meeting will start with the presenters, and then we'll have our industry partner vote, and then we'll have an announcement regarding revisions to our bylaws, and followed by the committee reports and an update from Mike Morgenthau on the tour your own city, and then any other business that should come up. So please, a couple of things to keep in mind. Use the Q&A feature for your questions for the speakers, okay? And then general kinds of questions or other things, you can put them in the chat, which Jeremy will be taking care of. Now, this meeting is being recorded, and so you will have access to this afterwards, okay, if you need to. All right, so just want to say it's nice knowing everybody's out there somewhere. We're connected over the wires, and it's really, these are still sort of scary and kind of interesting times. And so I just want to let you all know that the entire board is working really tirelessly on so many different things. We all have so many irons in the fire trying to take care of issues that are important to guides and to guiding throughout New York City. So it's something really that just for you to keep in mind, that we we're always thinking of you guys. So if you need something, if there's something that is important that you'd like us to address, please make sure to contact us. And you can contact me directly, but just also contact the board@GANYC.org. We're an open door. We're always there for all of you. Something we'd like from you all, actually, I hope you're enjoying the Virgil, GANYC Virgil, and Christina is our editor-in-chief, and she's doing a really fabulous job with it. And we'd love for you to contribute. We're looking for great stories, maybe photographs, fun recipes. My little kitchen hack, I hope, was useful. If you guys have one, we'd always appreciate that. So feel free to contact the board. You can also email Christina, and just let us know, if there's something you want the Virgil to talk about, we're happy to do the research and we're happy to get that put in for you. Now, one of the big things, I know a big issue for a lot of people, of course, is unemployment and issues with unemployment, with the pandemic unemployment assistance, and with unemployment issues with the state of New York, or even with your federal unemployment. All we can do is give you the information we have. None of us are experts in unemployment law, in any of the new acts that are coming through. That's not, we're learning, should I put it, we're learning as we go, just as much as you are. So what we can do is, and we're always very happy to do, is to point you in the right direction and try to help you find the answers to your questions. And then what we also want to do is, though, we want to make sure tour guides, freelancers, self-employed New Yorkers, and not just New Yorkers, are on our, on the politicians' minds, and that they keep us in mind when they're writing these acts, when they're trying to take care of so many different things, that also tour guides and freelancers are kept kept as part of the equation. Okay, so that's something that we're also working on with our government relations committee, industry relations, talking to GANYC Company, our contacts at U.S. Travel. And so really all of us have a lot of irons in the fire. And so we may not have the exact answer you want. We may not be able to help you get exactly what you need, but we really, are all doing our best. And we are, trying to get you the resources that can make a difference. Okay. And that can help you out. Okay. And with that's really, I think the most important thing right now is for a lot of people is unemployment. But we're also thinking about the future. And you may have seen some of the recent postings from GANYC Company, as well as from U.S. Travel, about post-COVID travel and the impact and the implications of people traveling, moving about the country, moving about the world. How will they be able to do that? When will we be able to do that? These are all things that are big, big topics for discussion. And I can assure you that it's not just GANYC that's thinking about this, but really all around the world, from the National Federation to the World Federation, we're all considering that too. Oh, here's Rafael as well. Let's just get him here too, our other speaker for tonight. Let's see, let me just unmute him. Hold on a second. Okay. Hey, Rafael.
Hey, how are you, Emma?
I'm well. Thank you for coming. We were just getting started doing a little presidential address right here. And I was just wrapping up a little bit, and we're talking to our guides about these really great issues. And actually, this is really perfect to dovetail into your presentation. Kevin Lawrence will be in charge of Christina Lombardi will be in charge of moderating that. I'm looking at Kevin, thinking Christina. And I was just addressing the fact that unemployment is a huge, huge issue, and what we can do about that. So with that, why don't I pass you over to Christina? And let me just see there, she's unmuted. Okay, so Christina, why don't you go ahead, give us a little background on Rafael, and we'll get started. So thank you.
Hi, Rafael. So everyone is aware of who you are. Rafael is a former New York City Council member. He was the chair of the Consumer Affairs Committee, where he oversaw business licensing and consumer issues in New York City. Mm-hmm. He also worked on issues affecting independent workers, which led him to become president of the Freelancers Union. And as president, he is now focused on COVID-19 relief issues. So welcome, Rafael. Thank you for making time to speak to us tonight.
Thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure of mine.
Can you tell us first a little bit about the Freelancers Union? Can you give us a little background?
Yeah, so the Freelancers Union was created back in 1995. Freelancers, as we know, are not able to organize, or they don't have the right for collective bargaining. So the union was created as a reaction to that. The founder was actually Sarah Horowitz. She was an attorney, a freelance attorney, and she created a nonprofit that was dedicated to providing resources to freelancers, or independent workers, whether it be through health insurance or through advocacy on city, state, and federal issues. They're mostly known for the health insurance packages that we're able to offer before the Affordable Care Act. You might have seen their ads in the subways in the early 2000s a lot.
Yeah.
But since the Affordable Care Act passed, that really changed the way they were able to continue doing health insurance business. So they started focusing more on the advocacy component, looking at ways where they can engage with the city council, with Albany and the federal government to pass laws and stronger laws for independent workers across the board. One of the major key laws that they passed was the Freelance Isn't Free Act that passed about 3 years ago, and it was a law in which the city now can intervene if a worker is not getting paid for work that they've completed. Before they didn't have that protection. You would have to go to small claims court, but now the Department of Consumer Affairs would intervene and help you collect your funds if you're not being paid by a client. Now coming in as the president, I think one of the reasons they wanted to really bring me on is because they wanted to expand on that work. They have been very New York focused. Besides passing the Freelancers Free Act in New York, they also created a co-working hub. So for those independent workers that rely on coffee shops or on WeWorks to be able to do their work, they can come to our offices, our hub, and use free co-working space as long as you're a member. And it's free to become a member. Here in New York, we have about over 180,000 members, but across the country, we have over 500,000. And I think that the best way to put it is that we're here to be a sounding board, but also to be someone who elevates the voices of independent workers who we know have historically been left out of the political process for such a long time.
So since you have contacts with the Department of Labor, and since you kind of have your finger on the pulse of the City Council, do you have any advice for our membership in terms of navigating unemployment for 1099s? Because I think the unemployment issue is the one that's first and foremost on everybody's mind. And speaking personally, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, so after the pandemic hit, the biggest concern was how we were going to get relief to independent workers who traditionally never qualified for unemployment insurance. So we worked closely with Chuck Schumer's office to ensure that the bill that passed, the relief package, finally expanded unemployment insurance.
Okay.
But now, 2 months in, we've done a survey and 85% of independent workers have reported not to receive any money at all at this point. So if you haven't qualified, you're not alone. The biggest issue I'm hearing, the Department of Labor, one, had to upgrade their systems to allow for applications from independent workers to be accepted. But now they've received millions of applications because it's not only independent workers, it's workers across the entire state that are trying to apply, that they have such a huge backlog they can't get to.
Yeah.
The commissioner of the Department of Labor recently over the weekend announced that she wants all workers to know that if you applied, they have your application and they will be able to get to it once they're able to get to it, given the high demand. But of course, if you apply at a certain date, you will receive funding. You receive your funds for the date you originally lost your job. All of your payments will be backdated. But I know there's other confusions happening. Those workers who file both a 1099 and with a W-2 are receiving a less of an award than someone who strictly filed with a 1099 or strictly with W-2. And that's another issue that I think Congress has to fix in the original bill to ensure everyone gets the same amount of funding moving forward. But the biggest problem I'm hearing is that they don't have enough manpower in the Department of Labor. And I think it's up to us to push the governor to redirect the resources so that we can get as many workers the insurance that they need.
Are you anticipating that there are going to be changes in freelancer tax and unemployment laws when all of this ends? I've heard it floated by a couple of different members at this point that they're curious to know how the tax laws may change, or whether or not there's any possibility of making some of the changes that have been made in response to the crisis permanent. For example, the ability to apply for unemployment in the first place.
I think that now we have a window, given this crisis, and given the fact that there has been some changes or temporary changes in the languages and laws, that language now currently exists and could potentially be expanded to be a permanent benefit moving forward, whether it be the unemployment insurance or I know they also made changes to the tax laws where you can claim sick days and personal time through your taxes as well. So we're also keeping an eye on that, and I think that's a bigger fight that we will have to take on, and the association will also, I think, would play a major role in making that happen. But it's going to take a lot of pressure and a lot of convincing of our congressional members. So I hope that we can continue working together to push for those changes that we want to see to stay permanent.
I'm sure a lot of GANYC members would like to be of assistance to you in putting pressure on elected officials. How best can they do so? What's something that they can do today when this meeting ends that will help make these changes permanent?
Well, right from what I've learned, congressional members right now, your members of Congress, your reps, are currently having conversations of what the next round of relief is going to look like. And everything's on the table, from providing $2,000 a month relief checks, similar to the $1,600 that was given to everyone. Now make it $2,000 and make it available every single month until the pandemic is over. That's to ensure that those who haven't received any sort of relief will get something, and they won't fall through the cracks. Two, there's a conversation around rents and rent relief. A lot of folks I know cannot pay their rent because one, they have not gotten unemployment, for example. So that's another big bill. But also, being that they're having those conversations, it's an opportunity to push for those fixes that we're looking for. So reach out to your Congress member and let them know. You send them an email, give them a call, and let them know what are the fixes they can make happen. We as a union are going to spend the next day to kind of cultivate what the major points should be. We're going to send a letter, but maybe we can, have the association be a co-signer to that letter. That way we can show we're working together to push for these changes.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. The Government Relations Committee at GANYC is actually working to support a proposal by the City Council Speaker Corey Johnson that had a rent relief aspect to it and benefits for freelancers. So we could work together on that.
Definitely,
project,
absolutely.
I would love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
So you mentioned that it's free to join the union, the Freelancers Union. If a tour guide like myself wants to join the Freelancers Union, what do I need to do?
You can just go on our website, freelancersunion.org, and there'll likely be a prompt that pops up on your screen asking you to join the union, or you can look for the join button, and it's not intrusive at all. Just asks for your name, your email, and your zip code. That way we know who you are and what part of the city you live in, and you'll be automatically signed up into our email lists. Through the email list, what I've been doing is communicating all the actions we're taking and all the actions our members can take personally to help push our agenda. All of the benefits that the union currently has are made available to you.
What does the future of freelance look like to you?
The future of freelance, I think that we need to have more portable benefits moving forward. People should have the flexibility to want to be their own employer without having to depend on traditional corporations and companies to provide the benefits that you need, whether it be through health insurance, unemployment insurance, paid sick time. That should all be made available to every individual, no matter how they choose to work. So it's a matter of creating more independence with the protections you need to be able to do that and survive in your own city.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Yeah,
let me see if we have any questions from the membership. Just see if I can pull up the Q&A. So to follow up with what we were asking about with the Department of Labor and filing for unemployment, our member Jonathan Turr wanted to know, you mentioned that there is a backlog. Do you have any sense of how large that backlog is? Do you have any idea of what, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but
no.
What do you think we should be looking at in terms of wait time to hear back from the Department of Labor?
It's taking weeks, and that's the reality. And from what I hear, it's over 500,000 people who are backlogged. The one trick that I've been hearing from members about how they've been able to skip the line or get a call back as soon as possible is by tweeting at the Department of Labor. Like if you tweet publicly that that you're still waiting, some members have gotten callbacks within the next day. So it's a matter of just making a little bit of noise, and I think that's what it's going to take for all of us to make noise for the DOL to get their act together and put the amount of resources needed to get through all these applications in a timely manner. Can
someone who lives outside of New York City also join the union?
Yes, we're a national organization. In New York State, we have over 180,000 members, and across the country, we have 500,000 members. So we're open to everyone. And
what are the dues like?
There are no dues at all.
Great.
It's completely free to join. We do still offer health insurance and liability insurance, and other insurances that are like life insurance that are available and that are out there in the market. But if you decide to get that insurance through the union, a portion of that transaction does help run, the union get the resources it needs to open it, keep its doors open, lights on.
I think you're going to have a few more members before the night is over, I suspect.
Oh, nice.
I think there are a few people that are putting in your address, your web address, as I speak.
That's great to hear. And I truly, and then the importance of being a member is that, as long as we're able to grow the numbers, that puts pressure on elected officials when they see that there's organizations teaming up, working together, creating a unified voice. That creates the real pressure to get things done. So it's great that we all continue working together.
So someone was asking, you mentioned that you have a workspace for members of the union. Do you have one in each borough? Is it centrally located in Manhattan? How does it work?
So we have one which is in Dumbo, Brooklyn. It's right under the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge, and it's been there for about 2 years now. So it's fairly new. It's a fairly new concept. Our goal is to expand it into each borough. So we hope to have one, have one in each borough across the city.
Okay, great. So we're gonna just take one or two more questions. Someone's asking what the web address is. We're gonna put that up in the chat again for you so that you have the web address. And then is there also a mailing list, I assume, on that web address that people
can
sign up for?
Once you become a member, you'll be automatically put into our mailing list.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and I also encourage you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That way you get more up-to-date information as it happens and kind of follow what we're working on on a real-time basis.
I suspect you'll be hearing from government relations shortly, and we'll find ways to put our heads together and work together on this issue so that members, both of your union and of GANYC, can work together to help make the noise that you were talking about.
Absolutely. It's the only way we'll be successful. As a former elected official, I know it works.
Well, thank you again, Rafael. It was lovely speaking to you tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
So
right,
so thank you very much. It was really great and really informative.
Thank you, Emma. We'll stay in touch.
Yes, definitely. We look forward. We might be bringing you back. So
okay, great.
Get ready for the next GANYC invitation, which will be winging your way.
I'll be home.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Christina. That was really very well done. I hope we answered everybody's questions. Now, I see some people occasionally are raising their hands. Put your questions in the Q&A or in the chat. We're not going to be calling on people to speak out loud during the meeting. So just to let you know, all right, because I see some hands going up. So I just want people to know that, okay? So let's see now. So we should have, okay, so we should have Dan ready now, okay, along with Kevin. Okay, so take it away, gentlemen.
All right, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dan Pitzer, so much for taking time out to address our membership. And thank you, Juan, our mutual friend and a colleague out there, for introducing me and you. I really appreciate that. Dan Pitzer, he is the founder and he is a licensed social worker for Breaking the Chain Counseling. And previously, he also worked for Merrill Lynch as the vice president of the Employees Assistance Program. Maybe I didn't get those titles exactly right, Dan, but you can
Close enough.
Okay, close enough. So I'm just going to jump right in, and this is a big issue. Thinking about checking in on the mental health of our fellow members and ourselves. I think that this is so overwhelming. I keep coming back to the idea of a tsunami, that we've been hit by a tsunami and we're all sort of still off of our feet and we're only stumbling up and everything. But it seems that most commonly people say, well, New York, they've been through 9/11, they've been through the 2008 financial crisis. You were working for Merrill Lynch during those crises. And so you did go through these type of historical precedents in some ways. But for me, I have to say, this feels different. I think a lot of our membership, they have their war stories for both 9/11 and for the 2008 financial crisis. And I'm just curious, based on your experience as a social worker, do you see similarities in what we went through collectively during 9/11 and the 2008 financial crisis? Do you see something different? And what can be gained by thinking back on our experience? Is it that we're just too close to what's going on with this COVID-19? Maybe I'm aging and I feel like I have to remake myself yet again, and that's a little bit scary. Can you just start to address this through those perspectives?
Sure. You hit on a lot of good points. I think that there are a lot of similarities and there are a lot of differences. I mean, the similarities are the thing to remember is we got through those things. We came out on the other side. You bring up a good point. A lot of us reinvented ourselves, whether it's 9/11 or the financial crisis. A lot of things changed. The world changed after those two different things. New York changed quite a bit. And the difference is this is worldwide. And this is not just New York. This is not just the United States. This is worldwide. And what we are all in it together, even though we're all isolated at home. I've never been through anything quite like this, as far as the social isolation, as far as Times Square being completely deserted during the day. I mean, these are like post-apocalyptic movie scenes that you see. Like, you never thought you'd see something like that, and yet we're seeing it. You bring up a good point about a tsunami coming, and we're all just still kind of trying to get our heads above water because we're in the middle of it and we're responding to this in the middle of the crisis. So we're in that zone. At some point, the water's going to recede a bit, and we're going to be then left with whatever we have left. And that's when it's often for mental health professionals, that's when our job really starts. Right now, it's the first responders, it's the nurses, the doctors, the medics that are all on the front line. When things start to slow down, that's when you start to sit with your feelings a bit and you realize, wow, my life has changed so much. Now what? Now what do I do?
Yeah, and there's this mix of experience and this mess of emotions, I think, that we're all dealing with. Some of our members, they have loved ones who work as first responders and they're worried about them. Some people are grieving friends and family acquaintances who they've lost lives for. You just heard about the overwhelming financial anxiety that we all share as tour guides, but this is not exclusive to the tourism industry. There's moments when I just feel rage at the sort of political response to all of this. Given this mix of all of these emotions, as a healthcare professional, are there some practical first steps that when you're thinking about dealing with the anxieties and the mix of emotions that if somebody were to come to you and to enter into your counseling, what are some of the first things that you say, these are practical things that you need to do to sort of get a handle of this?
The first thing I say is you are in control of how much information comes in. So none of us are obligated to watch the news 24 hours a day. None of us are obligated to react to every alert that comes on our phone that says breaking news. The 24-hour news cycle, it's every 15 minutes there's something else. There's more information. It's mostly speculation, because they're going 24 hours a day. Used to be, news came on at night, you watched the news, you read the newspaper, that was it. Now it's constantly going, and then there's the political spin on both sides. A lot of folks, I don't want to use the word addicted, but kind of really get hyper focused on the information, and that often can create a load of anxiety. Every little piece of minutia hanging on that, and we don't have to do that. In fact, it's important to limit that time and say, I'm gonna read an update every day. I'm gonna listen to, let's say, Governor Cuomo's update, and that's gonna be it. And really budget that time out and limit that information coming in, because that can just really, really have the anxiety go through the roof, especially because so much of it is speculation, as opposed to this is what we know. Because as humans, we don't like not knowing what's going to happen. And we want to know what's going to happen. And we tend to listen to people who present themselves as if they know what's going to happen, and they may not. And we hang on that, and it allows their anxiety often to get out of control.
Yeah. I mean, that's really valuable advice. And yet at the same time, I feel like there's a conundrum. We are, very often, I don't know, I'm not a healthcare professional, obviously, but I feel like what I hear is for people who are prone to depression or for maybe substance abuse and everything, one of the first things that you're told is don't isolate, right? But we're being told you must isolate. And one of the first places that you naturally want to go is to these social media, but what you're saying is that you can become oversaturated. It can actually be misery loves company type of thing, where it's feeding all of those issues. So for people who are dealing with loneliness and who, how can they create, because a lot of our members, like a lot of New Yorkers, we live alone. And this is a natural condition, especially for tour guides who thrive on being able to interact every single day with people. How do you suggest that people in this period of isolation, how do they stay connected with the community?
Well, I think we're doing it right now. I'm seeing 144 participants in this meeting, which is fantastic to see. Even though we're physically isolated, we have this technology that we're able to stay connected with each other and make it a point to reach out to friends, to reach out to family on a daily basis, be connected with colleagues, to be connected on a daily basis, to actually really make sure to do that. Talk to people you haven't spoken to. I've spoken to my mother probably a lot more than I really want to. She's in Brooklyn living alone. But every day it's making sure I'm going to check in with her and see how she's doing, and start to put some effort into those relationships that we might not have had before. And technology like Zoom and just the telephone can help us to do that, even if we can't physically be together.
Great, thank you. And so one other just very practical question I have for you as a local Greater New York social worker, you just heard that a lot of us are dealing with a financial crisis as much as an emotional crisis that we're doing. Are there resources out there that are available for our membership in the Greater New York City area that we should be aware of, that, maybe do this on a pro bono basis, maybe do this as, where can people reach out to if they really need help?
The Mental Health Association of New York has a helpline, which I probably should have brought with me, but I believe it's connected to the 311 system.
Okay.
They have
for everyone.
Yeah, they have a 24-hour helpline that has volunteers, mental health professionals that man that 24 hours a day. Because sometimes you just really feel that you don't know who else to talk to, and you spent too much time alone, and you really need to process some of those feelings that are going on, because maybe friends, family, people that are too close to you, it's too difficult for them to listen to. And they're too close to you, and to have somebody that is separate from you to be able to do that has a little bit of objectivity often is a great help.
Okay, great. So we do have a question in here from an anonymous attendee. More recently, I feel anxiety at the loss of human connection. Zoom, FaceTime, etc. are all great, but what are some things we can do to mitigate the loss of human-to-human connection?
Right. Well, you know, that's difficult to answer given that we really can't get together just quite yet. I think we just have to use the tools that we have, the resources that we have right now, until we can get back together again. I'm not sure really what else to do. We're all learning about this as we go along. You know, I before we came on, I had said, you know, in a few years we'll be writing the book on how to do Zoom meetings and how to do all this stuff efficiently and so forth, because we're learning it as we go along. Yeah. I see the numbers are up. That's great.
Yes. So for our members, if you're following the chat, we have the numbers there. And then also in the next edition of the Virgil, our newsletter that we've been putting out, I will make sure that the Mental Health Association of New York City, the helpline, is going to be included in that, in a list of resources that go through there. Any other, you know, one of the suggestions that a lot of but it's become so saturated, people are in need of this, but one of the most immediate things, I'm a dog lover, and so people were going to, you know, to adopt and foster dogs and cats and pets and everything to create a different type of connection and everything. But you were mentioning that earlier when we were just chatting with one another, that you've been working with the Veterans Administration and doing sort of music and everything. Are there other sort of more, not, I guess, crisis type of dealing with mental health, but just general ways in which people can that you suggest that you've seen as a successful way to deal with anxieties?
Yes. When we were talking before, I mentioned I work for the VA and in East Orange, New Jersey, and I do a group there that's not a therapeutic group. It's just to get together and let the guys learn how to play guitar. No one's going to be a rock star, but everyone sits around and plays and enjoys themselves. And by popular demand, we kept the group going on Zoom once we weren't able to meet in person. And I think shared interests, taking up a hobby, learning a language, getting involved. Hey, I want to learn an instrument. I'll just use the instruments for example. All over online on YouTube, there's different professional musicians that are giving free online lessons, and that do connect you to other musicians and create other groups where you can learn things. Using this time to focus on something, learning a new skill, a new language. Like I said, I know you mentioned the animals. My only concern with the animals is that you need to be in it for the long haul. And you know, everyone goes back to work and then the animals are home alone. But getting involved in an online community with something that you always wanted to do but never had the time to do, and let me try that. There are resources out there. Again, like I said, you know, music lessons for free and similar things.
Yeah. And I mean, that sort of dovetails with a lot of what we've been promoting in our professional development programs, is to help structure your time and use this in a meaningful way that gets your mind off of some of the, you know, the financial fear. Am I going to be able
and structuring your time, you mentioned, I mean, that's a point that I wanted to make too. I mean, all the running jokes going on now are, I'm going to take off my daytime pajamas and put on my nighttime pajamas. And, you know, if you're stuck at home all day and one day bleeds into the next and your sleep cycle gets all screwed up because you end up staying up later and maybe sleeping later, and then you can't fall asleep and you get very anxious because you don't have that structure. But getting up at the same time every day, getting showered, getting changed, putting on clothes that you can leave the house in, even if you don't leave the house, having an agenda, having a schedule, having a list of things to do that day, and then the next day, to have that structure is real important. That's what keeps us going, rather than sort of fading back into that, you know, couch potato sloth.
Yeah, I can see in the comments that, like you said, immediately the jokes, they start flying in that, is there such thing as time anymore? It's this
Right.
idea that everything
Right.
just seems to meld into.
Mhm.
So we have sort of an alarming comment. It's not really a question in the Q&A, but it says, is the health number the same as NYC well? Because when I called in the past, they seemed disappointed that I wasn't on the ledge yet.
Really?
Yeah, so is
Well, that's not
NYC
good.
well something different than the Mental Health Association?
I'm not exactly sure since I'm based in New Jersey now, but I'm pretty sure the Mental Health Association is who runs New York City Well, that line. They shouldn't be disappointed if you're not like on the edge or on the ledge, as they say.
Right, yeah,
Especially in a time like now where people need to connect.
right. And what are some of the symptoms for ourselves, but also our friends, our neighbors, our family members? How do you identify when people are starting to move towards the ledge, as this past person just?
Speaking a lot about hopelessness is one thing. A real red flag is talking about a plan. I live on the 30th floor. Sometimes I wish I could just go, I sit on the balcony and I wonder. Sometimes people will throw out little hints like that. It's really the hopelessness and the talking about, and sometimes making very off-color jokes around that.
Mm-hmm.
So you always want to be mindful of folks, and isolating more so than we have to isolate. Not answering the phone, not answering emails, being very cryptic with communication. It's important to keep an eye on folks that you haven't heard from in a while.
Right. So at a very personal level, I run this sort of fledgling New York City book club, and I've been thinking about focusing on other sort of moments in history or areas that focus on sort of the tragedy. But I wonder, this idea of just focusing too much on the idea of, is there a saturation point, or do you think that it's helpful to sort of have these comparative, what were people going through in 1918 with the Spanish flu? What really was Welfare Island, or do you think that it's sort of a unproductive fascination with just looking into the well, right?
Well, I think it really depends. That's really individualized for different people. Some people find a lot of comfort in getting a lot of information and seeing that, these people in 1918, they got through it. I mean, obviously a lot didn't, but the society got through that. And how did they get through that? And what can we learn from that? And what can we do similarly? And what do we need to do differently? But you do make a good point about not sort of dwelling on the tragedy so much, but starting to focus on, how can I change my life for the better now going forward? I saw one of the comments, somebody said that they learned video editing while they had time. Just sort of examples of, all right, now let's look forward and what can we do to better ourselves?
Okay. We have another question from a member. My main question is how to deal with the transition when we all of a sudden feel safe staying home and not sure how to go back outside. I think this is going to be a big issue, that we're sort of going to be very leery of interacting with one another. And as tour guides, especially, how are we going to alleviate our guests from feeling like, you're, especially coming to New York, where I think people are going to call it COVID Central. I think this is a big fear for a lot of us.
Right, and I think that's going to be an experience that we're going to learn as we go along. I'm sure people are going to take a lot of precautions initially. I'm sure masks are going to be, you're going to see people wearing masks in New York for a long time, and distancing, for a long time. And I think it'll be interesting once the tour groups, like you said, start up again and see what people are going to be comfortable doing. And are they going to be looking to you to provide some sort of a safety or not? Because we don't know if they're going to say to you, well, you're going to have masks for us, or, and these are the questions that we don't know. But you know, one step at a time as far as getting out, and each person, you know, each individual is going to be more comfortable. You know, one person can be more comfortable than somebody else in a given situation. I think as long as everybody feels that they're protecting themselves with the level of whatever protection it is, whether it's distancing or protective equipment that that they can work with for themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And I know that Emma, our president, she has a question that she's been trying to muscle in here. So
Yeah, well, so I'm home with my college sophomore and my high school junior, and they have a
Wow.
lot of anxiety about lots of things, you know, and children too. I know Christina has little ones. Any advice for the younger set? What should, you know, how can we as parents, and perhaps their grandparents and aunties and uncles out there, how do we take care of the mental health of the younger set?
Well, I think the most important thing is that they feel heard, is that they feel that we're listening to them. And again, listening doesn't mean agreeing. It just means listening and being as objective as we possibly can. The kids are going to have all sorts of different feelings. I have two of my own. I have a high schooler and a grade schooler. And, you know, they're both dealing with it in different ways. They're used to connecting online with their friends. You know, that's they're used to doing that, but they're also missing the interaction as well.
Yeah.
And they didn't think they would, but they
Yeah.
are. They may have an opinion about it that's completely different than ours, or whether it's anger or not. And it's just about just creating an environment where they can say that to us, and it's okay for them to feel that way. And we don't have to be able to fix it. Because as parents, that's what we want to do. We want to fix it. We want to make it better. We can't change the outside environment. We can only make it as good as we can for them. And if they feel supported and heard by us, that's then that's the best way we can get through it.
Great, thank you.
yeah, I'm also a college professor, and I have to say that I feel like there's this group, this demographic out there of these graduating seniors who are facing this job market that's just, it's an abyss. And I feel like they're not being heard by the greater society. And I just feel really awful for these kids. I mean, they can't even walk for their graduation ceremony, and they're feeling real despair. And they're still so young that they don't have these reference points like 9/11 or the 2008 fighting. It's really hard for these young 20-year-olds that this is just not what they signed up for, right? And I feel like, yeah, it's a tough nut and all these things, but we really thank you, Dan. Is there anything that you wanted to add that we didn't cover that you think is important for our membership to hear?
I just think, you know, in summary, really stay connected. Stay connected the best way that you can. And you know, you mentioned the kids, the graduating seniors and stuff. They're really being gypped. And they're going to have feelings about it, and all too often they're going to hear, "Oh, you'll be fine, don't worry," or, you know, "Oh, it's not that bad." It's, you know, yeah, but that's what they're hearing is, "Oh, your experience isn't important," you know, but it is. You only graduate college once. You only graduate high school once. It's the only time you can't go back and do that again. So missing out on that experience is a big deal. So it's just important for us to be listeners. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Any other questions for my fellow board members? If not, I'm just going to hand it over to Emma. And
thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I was just going to say thank you so much. It really, it's such good, concrete, real advice for everybody. So it's very, very helpful. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to move on now. Hold on a second. Back to gallery review. Okay. So, yeah, I think both speakers were great. And thanks you, Christina and Kevin are fantastic moderators. That was really, really a good conversation. So I hope everybody else and appreciated that and enjoyed it just as much as I did. So moving on, our next thing is our industry partner vote. Okay, so that'll be Mike Morgenthau. All right, Mike, so you're on.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay out there. I know we're about 7 or 8 minutes from the time that some of you might be just peering outside to clap. If you are a full voting member of GANYC, you should shortly be receiving a message with a link to vote on Wild Apricot on our 2 industry partner applicants for tonight. The first is Moxie. It is a financial services app started by a former executive at Chase, and it specifically targets the freelance and 1099 market. It is not just a financial planning site. They do investment things, but they also have functionality for invoicing and figuring out your taxes in real time. So it's a pretty interesting app, and in the email you just got, you should have seen the link for their website. Of course, this was blasted out about a week ago as well, so hopefully you guys had time to review it as well. The second applicant is Trip School, which is one of the co-founders is Mitch Bach, who is a GANYC member. Trip School does training and education for tour directors and guides, and really offers a lot of interesting content and ways to improve your skills as a guide. So, their website is listed there as well. You should have received the ballot, which will take, if you're a full voting member, which will take you to Wild Apricot for you to cast your vote. Polling will remain open till about an hour after the meeting. So you don't have to vote this very second, but it is important that you do vote. And we appreciate both of these applications. And if there are any problems accessing the poll to vote, please let us know at board@ganyc.org. And if there's any questions or comments right now, you can post them in the chat room. That's what we normally do at our regular meetings.
Yeah, yeah, so you can put them, yeah, if any, yeah, so I'll give everybody a moment to add any, if there are any questions or comments while we've got Michael here.
One thing I will say while you guys are thinking of questions or comments is that I find it very encouraging that we're still getting industry partner applicants at this point. So I think it's a testament to people's faith in the tourism and travel industry. I think it's also a testament to what GANYC has been doing, and that we're being recognized for having some sway in the tourism and travel industry. So, so take that at face value, but I do think it's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so. So, okay, any questions? I don't see anything. Okay, no, I think we're all set. Yeah, everyone will receive, you will receive a ballot to the address that we have for your Wild Apricot that you use to register with. Okay, it'll just go right to you, or you'll find it in your email. Okay, and then you'll have to be able to vote for it. You can do that after the meeting. No need to do that right now. Okay, anything else, Mike, about the vote? No.
That's it.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, John's here. Yeah, you can see everyone should be seeing now the, we've got the entire board here except for Bob Gelber, but we're all here right now and ready for you. So our next part is I'm going to read through the announcement of the revisions and additions to the GANYC bylaws. These were voted on by the executive board. We approved these at our last meeting. So under membership, section A, the following will be added to our bylaws. Any member who has lapsed for more than 2 years must reapply as a new applicant, but will not be subject to the new member fee and would be exempt from the requirement of 4 membership meetings in a year before becoming a full member. Okay. And under meeting section B, the bylaws will be changed to read as follows. Minutes of all membership meetings shall be posted on the GANYC website and be made available in print if requested. Minutes for executive board meetings can be made available to individual members upon request. Okay, so those are the 2 revisions to our bylaws that were approved by the executive board. You were all notified on this via email in the GANYC announcements. Okay. All right. So we'll move on. Let's check the chat. Anything there? If there's any discussion? Okay. All right. Then moving on. I have to say this is very efficient in this Zoom setting. So now we're going to do our committee reports. So what I just need to do, if you are going to be giving a committee report, I will turn you into a panelist for the time that you will give your report. Okay. And so I'm adding Michael Dillinger right now on behalf of certification. So let me just make sure his volume is on. Okay. So Michael, you here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Long time no see.
Yeah, we'll try to get this through before the big clap, okay?
Okay.
So, certification committee. Well, the certification committee, we have been working on meeting on a weekly basis, sometimes twice a week, in order to create an online class for GANYC members who may wish to participate in Tour Your Own City, the initiative that is coming up. Oh, there goes the screams.
Okay, if you guys want to take a break, everybody take a break and
Clap. We'll continue in a minute. I hear them screaming outside.
Yeah. No, seriously, if you guys want to get up and go clap, please go clap. Dillinger's going to clap. I'm clapping from New Jersey. I'm doing my little thing. Christina's upstate. We're all doing our thing. Yes. Yes. So, all right. Well, wait. I mean, this is just what we do at 7 o'clock. Even here, I'm usually blasting some kind of music. Okay. All right. Patrick's going to clap. I think we lost Michael just for a moment. We'll get him back.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. All right. Maria Lena is clapping from Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm clapping from New Jersey as I do every night. Oh, Roosevelt Island. They do it at 8, apparently. They're in their own thing. I guess it takes longer for the clap to travel by tram. So, all right. So we'll hold on till Michael gets back.
Roosevelt Island's in a time warp, right?
It's in a time warp. Yes. Yes. Oh, okay. Tony DeSanti, you asked, he said, I received an email about industry partners. Will amendments be coming the same way? Tony, the amendments were sent actually in an announcement on April 30th. Okay, so that's they were already sent. They said they're sent a week, at least a week before a meeting, and so yeah. All right. Oh, they're clapping now in Queens. It's slowly moving across. I see Mitch says they're clapping out in Forest Hills. Okay, so I'll wait till Dillinger gets back. But apart from that, everyone. Oh, Dave Gardner is banging his pots and pans. Okay. All right. It's such a nice thing to do. And it's Nurses Appreciation Day today. So, you know, really appreciating them all. Okay. Oh, the Astoria clap is very punctual, according to Matthew Baker. Okay. It's deafening in Inwood. Very nice. All right. So let's get Michael back in here. And we'll keep going. Okay.
While we're waiting, Emma, can I chime in on one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Just tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, there's going to be another flyover. This time it's not by the U.S. military, though. It's 3 JetBlue aircraft are going to be flying over Manhattan, Queens, and the Bronx. And the text I got is, please follow social distancing guidelines if viewing in public. So keep that in mind. I think when we had the flyover last week, that caused a little consternation for some people. So
yeah,
when you're doing your clapping tomorrow, keep your eyes out for 3 JetBlue planes flying over the city as a tribute to the frontline healthcare workers.
Nice, nice. Well, okay. Yeah. Oh, then JetBlue gave good free flights to healthcare workers. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Christina, you and me too. We're clapping in the burbs. We're doing our thing. Okay. The flyover, Mike, the flyover you said it was at 7.
It's what the text I got from the city said. Planned flyover salute to honor our frontline healthcare workers. 3 JetBlue aircraft will conduct a flyover salute of Manhattan, Queens, and the Bronx on May the 7th at 7 p.m. The aircraft will fly at approximately 2,000 feet. Please follow social distancing if viewing in public.
All right, Michael, come back. I see. All right.
I'm back. I'm back.
All right.
Have to do it. I have 2 nieces and a sister that are all frontline in hospitals. Got to do it.
Oh, yes. All right. Bravo. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. So now I don't have to rush. Okay. So just to give a little background, so the certification committee, when it became apparent that the first resurgence of tourism would probably be day trippers coming in from nearby, we thought, why don't we have a program we can help guides get ready for this? And that's where the impetus of this program was born. It was to create a workshop so that guides could work on crafting tours that speak to the local traveler as opposed to people who will only be here once in their lifetime. So that was the idea. And we started working on this, and it's a really, really big lift, even though it's only a small part of what certification does, but trying to put it online and make it accessible to everybody has been quite a challenge. So we've been meeting on a weekly basis, and there are some weeks we've met twice a week to get it all done. And this is one of the weeks where we're meeting twice this week as well to get this done for members who may want to participate. The application deadline has passed. So now we're reviewing the applications, and then the end of this week, we're doing a little online interview with each of the applicants so we can whittle it down. We can't take everybody, and this is the initial outing, but we hope that we will be able to do this more and more and more, offer this more often. It's a 3-session workshop, takes place over 1 week, and the first class is going to begin on May 11th. So we're really getting up on it. It will be limited in size, and as I said, the deadline has passed. We have also developed, not only working with Zoom, but we have an online learning management system that we've invested in, so we can put everything up there so that it will be easily replicatable as well. And all the information, all of the resources that are needed for the class will all be there. We're very excited about getting all of this done. So we'll be making the final decision on participants at the end of this week, and they'll be notified with the link, and they'll be getting their homework assignments and everything else. And we'll keep you updated on all of this. But since it's a very new process for the committee, any decision on future classes will be made after this first one is complete. So I cannot give you any dates on anything that might be happening in the future at this time. One other thing I do want to say, I have to tell you, I am in awe of these committee members. They all should take a bow. They all deserve your thanks and your gratitude. They are Jonathan Turer, Patrick Casey, Nina Mende, Kevin Lawrence, Billy Nemec, Kit Garrett, and our very own COVID warrior, Robin Garr. They've shown up for every single meeting. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Thank you, guys. You are awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
That is my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, how many people applied?
We've got over, well, I don't know, more than a dozen. I don't know the exact number. And at least one of them has decided maybe they're not going to do it this time. We've got different, responses. We'll see what happens.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Michael. Any questions in the chat? Jeremy, are there any questions in chat about that for Michael? I don't think so.
No, I'm not seeing any.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Up, I'm here, so.
Okay, all right. So Michael, we're gonna bid you adieu, and
Bye-bye.
we're going to, all right, let me take, okay, Michael off. All right, change you to attendee, and then let me get our next in. We've got Nina. Okay, so Nina, get ready because you'll be on in just a moment. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so Nina should be popping in shortly. Okay, there we go. All right, so Nina, let me get her on. Okay, and let me try to get your video on. Nina, you all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here we are. All right. I guess we just can't see you. All right.
Okay. Oh, I guess I'm doing it from a laptop. It should have, is there anything I should, oh, wait, I can click. Okay.
There we
Here I
are.
am.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is the Education Committee. We've been meeting often to develop the online professional development programs, and Bob Gelber and Kevin Lawrence and Jeremy Wilcox and John Semlak. We have 4 people on the board who are on the committee, as well as this Andrea Coyle and myself and Minna Scharf and Susan Birnbaum and Lisa Puccio. So that's the core. And we also, as a report, we opened up a new Facebook page, and we started in, it's by invitation, but it's really open to people who want to do, have ideas, education ideas, and that's the education contributors page. So we really welcome GANYC members who want to develop programming for the Education Committee. Just, email us and we'll make you part of it. What we've been, I just want to thank people for doing the adapting to virtual touring, practical issues related to producing, conducting, sustaining online tourism parts, and thanks for all the people who put that together. And that was Kevin Lawrence for moderating, Kelsey Toner was the expert, and then our own GANYC members, part 2, with Kevin Fitzpatrick, Megan Mayrod, and Jeremy Wilcox. So it's a nice combination of professional and then also pulling in from our membership, people who have expertise, sharing it with us. We're in the process of developing FAM tours, virtual FAM tours and for membership. And now we have sort of a hybrid situation where in the meantime, we're promoting all GANYC members who are sort of pioneers in this form. And Jeremy is putting it on his public relations page, the blog. Really, we're going through a lot here, but we're pioneers developing another way of reaching out to people. It reminds me of the old film industry that started in Fort Lee, New Jersey. I saw a special on Frances Guy, first woman filmmaker, and I was thinking how many of us now, going through all the things we're going through, are giving birth to something new with these virtual tours. And I think they'll be around. And I'm excited that the Education Committee is doing something with that. I just want to say a special thank you. Some people are doing a lot of tours targeted to GANYC members. We didn't put them on Wild Apricot because they're, a big series, and that was a lot of bandwidth. But Art and Susan Zuckerman have been doing tours twice a week with open part, and Joe Saflack did a Coney Island segment, and I think Cindy was trying, Cindy DeLapitos doing the Gustavino Tile, Erica Becker, Matt Baker, Mike Zuckervlo, and Joe Sedlak were on another segment. So these were by conference call. So I think now Art Zuckerman is going to Zoom, but Kevin Pitts, there's a whole bunch of pioneer, I say our pioneers, and even though they're not doing this for education per se, they're doing it for some other operators, and they're charging and these tours are like $10 or so. We're promoting their work because they're pioneers, and hopefully they'll be, once we get going again, they'll be a part of it. And I just want to give like a heads up for all you pioneers: Gary Dennis and Karen Noasad and Stanley O'Connor, Michael Morgenthau, Lemmy Guest Gonzalez, Mitch Bach, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Matthew Baker, Megan Mayrod, Jeremy Wilcox, Manuela Biondi, Linda Fisher, Fred Fancer, Slava Spiegel, Yu Wang, and I'm sure if I left a couple of people out, I'm sorry. But you're all, thank you for publicizing your tours so we know about them and we can learn from you. And I guess that's it for now. We're in the process of developing all kinds of wonderful things. I really thank you to the board for just doing such a great job creating a community of guides. This, it's a rough time for everyone. And I really thank the board for, holding us together. And
you're very welcome.
Well, yeah, I just want to say this. We're such a diverse organization that the education contributors page is for multilingual guides. It's for double-decker guides. We have such diversity and such wonderful humanity in our organization that, just a big hug to everyone.
Oh, thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. That's really very kind of you. Any questions for Nina? I think we're sort of just doing a little scan through. I think we're good. Okay, Nina. So thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Yeah. So I'm going to switch you out back to attendee, and I'm going to be bringing in Andy Seidorf here. Okay, so let me take Nina off. All right, and I'll add Andy. Okay. All right. So Andy should be coming in just a moment. Okay. All right. So let's see, is he in? Right. Andy. All right, let's unmute Andy. Make sure he's, sorry, hold on a second. Takes a moment. All right, Andy, you're all set?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, there
yes,
we
I
go.
am.
Great.
All right. Okay.
Good to see you.
I'm Theodore, Government Relations. This report will cast back into March as well. In early March, as COVID-19 cases started in March, we made another round of the remaining holdouts on City Council regarding INT 289A. That's the bill for requiring guides on double-decker buses. While we did get a few responses, the needle has not moved, with us still at the same number of votes as before. Then the lockdown occurred. Meetings and hearings we were scheduled to attend were canceled, and governmental activity, particularly on the local level, ground to a halt. But that doesn't mean we have lost purpose, quite the contrary. The crisis is the worst thing to ever hit the tourist industry in its history. And I say that with the perspective of one who's worked through 9/11 blackouts, hurricanes, earlier pandemics, and Yoko. All activity is suspended. We are all unemployed. The unemployment insurance system has become completely overwhelmed. It was never designed to handle even a fraction of the numbers it handles now. There's also the problems posed by the crisis itself. While social distancing has flattened the curve, we still have nearly 300 deaths a day in a city that saw a grand total of 311 murders in the whole year of 2019. We need more testing, and without federal support, that necessity is not going to be achieved. There's not a lot we can do about this. Our federal reps in New York and New Jersey, where many of GANYC's members reside, are already in agreement on this point, but can't get past the roadblock of the Senate and the presidency. But there are things to do now and in the future. Toward that end, we've compiled a database of GANYC members and contacts cross-referencing their representatives at the federal, state, and for NYC residents, local. I've been able to do this for 397 of our members and contacts. In the past, when we had to pressure a particular rep, we would ask who was in that person's district and ask them to write letters or make calls. Now, when we need to pressure a rep, we can swiftly look up all we have in that district and then ask all of those to act. This will greatly strengthen our lobbying efforts in the future. Moving into April, the City Council managed to cobble together a meeting after a month of no council activity, where they're able to pass a bill that basically extends some of the protections and aids already offered by the state and city. Is it enough? No, not really, but it's more and is positive action by a branch that has had its ability to act at all severely curtailed. So we have decided to support this bill. Committee member Christina Lombardi has done a full workup on this that has already been posted to you all by GANYC and statements of support have been written by myself and others. That more needs to be done is really the point. The crisis has no real end in sight, but when it does end, we have the long work of reconstruction to accomplish. At that point, INT 289A will be more important than ever. Our partners at TW100, which has been heavily hit by the virus, have told us that they see it as more essential than ever. Meanwhile, we need to monitor our reps to see who is acting on this crisis and use these actions to remind them of our presence. Recently, committee member Lionel Hamanaka did a cursory round of pulling up city council members to see who's still responsive. Basically, it ran the range from very active to practically shut down. We need to cultivate relationships with the very active to position ourselves for the future. Now that concludes the statement. Something else to add is I am stepping aside as the chair. I will still be active on the committee, and the new chair will be Christina Lombardi, who I believe has a short statement to make at this point.
Thank you, Andy. I want to start by thanking Andy for all the work that he's done with the Government Relations Committee, particularly with respect to the legislation about keeping tour guides on tour buses. And the Swift Lookup program, which he just briefly mentioned, it is going to make it so much easier for us to target individual members of the city council or particular officials, and let everyone who is in that district know simultaneously, hey, we need you to reach out to this person and here's why. Going forward, GANYC is going to be supporting the COVID-19 legislation that was proposed by Speaker Corey Johnson. I agree with Andy that it doesn't go far enough, but it is a start. You had a summary of that legislative proposal in the last edition of the Virgil. There's going to be a petition forthcoming. We would love to have membership sign it, pass it along to fellow tour guides, fellow industry professionals, even if they're not members of GANYC. There is strength in numbers, as we were saying during the freelance talk earlier this evening. So we want to get as many signatures in support of the proposal as possible. And there'll be more information in the coming issue of the Virgil. We'll follow up on what we're talking about tonight.
Yes, and I'd like to echo what Christina said, and also what everyone is, what I'm getting a lot of comments in the chat, to thank you very much, Andy, especially because you were just sort of pushed into this role and you really picked up with it. So thank you very much for that, and for keeping on the committee and keeping doing great work. Of course, you and Lionel and now Christina. So congratulations, Christina, Chair, and thank you again, Andy. Okay, so Andy. So big applause for Andy there. So Andy, I'm going to put you back to being an attendee. Again,
Right.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go on to next, which is me, actually, putting my IT chair cap on. And just to let you all know that the Zoom, our GANYC Zoom that we're using right now, actually, is now accessible. It's going to be accessible to committee chairs. All the board members can log in, and a lot of the board members are on most of the committees, so I think everybody is covered. And the way this will work is basically if your committee needs to hold a Zoom meeting, you can go, it can be set up, and you're welcome to have that meeting. And it's really just first come, first serve. You can see if you, when you go into the Zoom panel, you'll see a list of all the meeting dates and the meeting times, okay? And so people can just work around that. And so just to make sure that way, all the committees, you know, we're getting busier and busier. And so this is a good way for everyone to keep in touch. And so we'll have our one GANYC Zoom meeting, okay? And any questions for IT if you have a question for me? But that's really it, okay? So next we have, let me just check the chat one more time really quickly. Okay, and yes, and just to keep in mind, guys, if you want to make sure your comments in the chat go to everybody, so the rest of the members can see it, make sure it says panelists and all to everyone, okay? All right, so I'm going to next add Derek, okay? If you, I beg your patience a moment. Okay, Derek. Okay, so he'll be popping in just a moment. Okay, let me see. All right, so.
Okay, hi everybody.
Hey, Derek.
So my name is Derek Chan. I'm the membership committee chair. And first of all, I just wanted to give an extra special welcome to anybody who's at this meeting who's not a GANYC member and who's visiting for the very first time. We're certainly glad that you're able to join us. And whether you're local in the New York City or New Jersey area or not, we are certainly glad that you're here. And if you're not a GANYC member, just wanted to note that now is actually a great time to join GANYC for a number of reasons. And just as a general reminder, the main requirement to being a GANYC member is being a licensed New York City guide. And we don't have any residency requirements. We do have guides who are part of GANYC that are not from the New York City area. And we absolutely welcome that. We've actually just recently had a couple of guides that have joined us from the DC area. We also have had in the past, currently, DC guides, even before the current kind of round of numbers. So we are, of course, accepting new applications. If you were a GANYC member in the past and want to rejoin, we're welcome you back as well. And also just want to give an extra special thank you to a GANYC member and a DC area resident, Jim Carr, who's actually been quite instrumental in bringing in some of those DC guides. Just as a financial note, right now for new members, the first year's regular dues are currently prorated, so they're 50% off right now. So normally annual dues right now are $125, so $62.50 plus the membership initiation fee, and everything can be done online. And just as a reminder, that a lot of our current member benefits have moved online. We've heard a lot about that very recently from our committee chairs. Michael Dillinger was talking about some of the things that the certification committee is doing. Their certification normally had been done in person, but they're having some virtual offerings, and it sounds like perhaps there might be some more in the future. Nina was just talking about some of the things that the education committee has been doing. Recently, there were two of the virtual PDPs that were offered to members about creating and hosting and kind of nuts and bolts of virtual tours. And also related to that, all GANYC members are members of the NFTGA, the National Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. Just a little bit earlier this afternoon, some of us were on the Zoom webinar that was hosted by NFTGA about virtual tours as well. So there's a lot of great things that are going on, opportunities to connect with our colleagues throughout the country, even throughout the world, also part of the World Federation of Tour Guides as well, conferences associated with that. So there's a lot of great things going on. Michael Dillinger will be talking a little bit later about the Tour Your Own City initiative that he's been spearheading. There's a special member benefit for that. So if you're not a member and you're saying, hey, I want to join, just go to the website, ganyc.org/apply, and I'll put that in the chat as well. Also, I know this is a lot about people who are not members. For our existing members, also just a special thank you to you as well, because certainly GANYC is everything because of our members. And if we didn't have any members, you really would be nothing. And so just a reminder that besides these member benefits that I've just mentioned, there's a summary page on the GANYC website for members only. You have to log in, ganyc.org/benefits, and it has a listing of many of the benefits that I've just discussed, as well as a few others. Things, of course, are different now, but fam tours, site visits, newsletters, job fairs, special member benefits for that as well. Since our last meeting, we have actually added 7 new members, and I just wanted to recognize them at this time. We have 6 new provisional members: Andrea Kropman, Anna Uva Galvano, Christina Mainka, Mary Beth Oakes, Joy Steinbach, and Sarah Lyons. We also have 1 new full member who's actually come back after being away with us for a short time period, Carol Siedelman. So welcome to those 7 new members. We currently have a total of 367 active members for GANYC, and that number is certainly rising. And so that's how we're doing as far as that. As far as the membership committee, in terms of some of the things that we've done in the past, we had done in-person GANYC networking happy hours. Those, of course, are not happening right now. But we're in the process of planning for a virtual happy hour of sorts, maybe a sort of a talent showcase. So if anybody's interested in showcasing your talent, you can email me, membership@GANYC.org, and I'll put that in the chat as well, so you have that as well. So that's it for me, unless anybody has any questions.
And if anyone has questions, please type them up please write them in the chat. And I see some questions went by also for panelists who had spoken before. If you put them in the chat, everyone will see those. Kevin Fitzpatrick, you have a question. If you could just type that in the chat, that would be great. I see your hand is raised. Okay. All right. So let's see, do we have anything? Okay. Here we go. Yeah, and so Derek just put up the link right there. Thank you, Derek. Okay. And all right, thank you, Derek. This is great. Oh yeah, virtual happy hour. That's a good suggestion from Kevin Fitzpatrick, a virtual happy hour. I think actually there was some talk in the virtual tours business about these chefs and mixologists demonstrating things. So perhaps Kevin could give us a lesson in making some of his great cocktails that he has on his blog, and that would be a lot of fun, and we could all try it out. We were making margaritas at home last night with my family, and with various results. Okay, all right. So thank you very much, Derek. All right, we're going to move on to Dave Gardner. Thank you, Derek. I'm going to take you off now, and then we're going to move on to Dave Gardner. Okay, he's going to be jumping in. Okay, so just a moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Dave should be in just a moment. Okay. All right, I'll just make sure his is on. Dave. Okay, and there we go. Okay. So Dave, are you here?
Yep, coming in.
Yes. Oh, he's gonna jump. I knew he was gonna jump.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Welcome, everybody. Get like my lanyard. So, first of all, yes, I've let myself go a little bit, but have you noticed that all 5 of the males have opted to be clean shaven? Just had to say. So, well done, everybody, for addressing the bad issues. I'm here to address a good issue tonight. This is a copy of our newest issue of our newsletter guidelines. It's in the mail, so it's on its way to y'all. But I have a preview copy of myself, so, and well done. Typically pages are in multiples of 4. I expected this to just be a 12-pager, but thanks to everybody, it has been a full 16-pager as usual. But there's things that we do address about the current thing, like Judy, and past things like tours and so on and so on. And of course, big words from our president, Emma. And 2 pages. But anyway, it's in the mail for people who have opted to be getting their hard copies, and I'll give you information about anybody else that would like to get their own hard copies about that. And since I know you will ask, the deadline for the next one will be July 28th. That's the day that Mel Brooks, a New Yorker born in Brooklyn, is due to turn 94.
That's great. And then Dave, of course, you'll this will be posted on the website.
Yes, excellent, Emma. Yes, there will be a copy of this in glorious Technicolor posted on our website. And typically there's some additional things. I'll put in a few extra pictures or maybe extra contributions. And we're not limited to 4 on the website, so it'll be something enhanced in some way, yes.
Great. All right, great. Thank you so much, Dave. That's wonderful. And if you hold it up, I love the hat. I love the hat and the mustache. That's really good. That's what we all need. So thank you, Dave. Thank you very much. All right. So let's. I'm going to be taking Dave out now. It's a breath of fresh air here, and we are going to move to our last. We're going to have John Semlak. Actually, will be reading the report on behalf of Ibrahima for the sustainable tourism. Okay, all right, so let's get John unmuted. All right, okay, John, you should be all set.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Emma? Okay,
yes.
Great. And thank you, and I do thanks all the committee heads for their reports, by the way, as the secretary who sends out the reminders. I am not a member of the Sustainable Tourism, renamed from Over Tourism Committee, but I'm just reading it as secretary on behalf of Ibrahima. So with start, in the past several weeks, our committee's main concerns have changed from overcrowding, among other things, to virtually a different type of focus. It's fair to say that some of us wish we still had the problem today, as Jared said, pardon me. But over-tourism is not just about crowded popular sites. In fact, in Europe, the trend is to call it responsible tourism. It would be laughable to maintain, just as, even just internally, the name Over-Tourism Committee. So we had to rebaptize ourselves as the Sustainable Tourism Committee with the same goals and mission. We know there is going to be a new normal so our approach has changed. Since there may be social distancing for a while, group tours and activities won't be the same anymore, or without masks, whisper systems or not, in small areas especially. This is why we have been working on best practices and guidelines for tourism professionals in charge of groups. A digital manual that will be considered as a go-to for reference for anything related to leading groups. This includes safety, sizes, seasons, subways, etc. Everything a lot of us know already and practices put together as industry standards. I repeat, tourism industry standards for group activities, mainly tour related. We must lead by example. For that to happen, we have to think, act, and react according to the same guidelines and not just assume that we all know that it's obvious. All know it's obvious, pardon me. We have to share with everyone in our industry what we recommend, so we will work together towards safer activities and better experiences for visitors and locals. Our committee held 3 meetings in the past weeks, thanks to everyone who attended those online meetings. Committee Chair Ibrahim Diallo. Thank you, Emma. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you very much, John. And I know, and I'm actually on the Sustainable Tourism Committee, and this idea of putting together some guidelines for when we're back to touring is really, it's very interesting. And Ibrahima has a lot of good things, a lot of good thoughts on that, and taking a lot of ideas from other members of the committee. Okay, so Kit has a question. Let me see what that is about sustainable tourism. Where is this going to be published? So Kit, it's still, these are points of discussion that the Sustainable Tourism Committee is dealing with. Okay, so it's not any finished document that's out there yet. The committee is actually working on it actively right now. Okay, so let's move on. Now we have an update from Mike Morgenthau about the Tour Your Own City initiative. So take it away, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Emma. Just 2 quick things before I launch into this. I didn't submit a formal Industry Relations Committee report. I apologize for that, but 2 things that I wanted to mention. Number 1, the Society for Illustrators was approved from last month. The vote total is in the minutes, which were posted to GANYC.org. I don't remember them off the top of my head. You also heard that one of our other board members mentioned this, but we made a decision that at least our next 3 meetings are going to be held virtually like this, June, July, and August. We are holding our breath that September, our annual general meeting, will be able to take place in person. We have not secured a venue yet. We're working on it. Obviously, it's a little tough at this moment because nobody really knows what's going on, but that is our hope, is that we will all be able to get to see each other again in person in the fall, or in the late summer, I guess I should say. So, but be that as it may, let me turn our attention to Tour Your Own City. So I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see what's going on. And because, and I'm just going to go full screen. There we go. Okay, so we have been working really hard, myself, members of the board, some members of the Industry Relations Committee, Deborah Blau, who designed that beautiful logo that you see up there at the top, and Megan Murad and Amada Anderson to start to get this up and running. And what you are looking at right now is the landing page for Tour Your Own City. We are not ready to launch yet. We've had a lot of internal discussions about when and how we want to launch. We need to make sure we are very sensitive to timing, because we don't want to be perceived as to be encouraging people to take tours while people are still suffering, people are still getting sick, people are still dying in mass numbers. So we're going to be paying very close attention to that, but we're doing the ramp up right now, and that's what this is all about. So I'll just walk you guys really briefly through this homepage, landing page. More is coming, I'm sure, by in the next couple of weeks. We'll have more to share with you, and certainly by the June meeting. But you can just see as I scan through here, we're specifically targeting, and some of the formatting on this is not perfect. We're still continuing to tweak it, but you can see the formatting, we're calling people within the New York general area come to New York City. And then we have a sign up to subscribe if you're a tour guide or tour operator interested in having tours listed on the site, or if you're a member of the public and you want to get updates once we launch. Now, this is a very, very key point. If you are a GANYC member, full or provisional, you do not need to sign up for this. You will, once we start accepting, once we have the application to start uploading tours, you will get that automatically via email. And I'm sure we'll post it on our internal social media as well. So, but if you are a licensed New York City tour guide or a tour operator who's going to be interested in posting your tours on Tour Your Own City, once this launches, you can certainly subscribe, put your information in. If you click subscribe like I'm doing right now, you'll be taken to a little MailChimp sign up thing. Really, really simple. First name, last name. Are you a tour guide, tour operator, or are you a member of the public? And this way we have lists to send people's information to. Let's see, go back to the main page. There is a fee for non-GANYC guides and for tour operators, similar to how we have operated our job fair in the past. So for GANYC members, this is a completely free service. For non-GANYC members and for tour operators, there is a fee. And the theory behind that is that many of these tour operators, even non-GANYC guides, do occasionally hire GANYC guides to lead tours. So the idea is a rising tide lifts all boats. And if we're able to demonstrate to the public that it is fun and safe to go out and take tours, that's going to be good for members of GANYC in addition to the entire guiding community. One fun thing that we threw in here is some great quotes that we found about New York, specifically about the belief of New Yorkers, and we can kind of scan through these a little bit. The true New Yorker secretly believes that people living anywhere else have to be, in some sense, kidding. Thank you, John Updike. I still believe in the possibilities then, still had the sense. So peculiar to New York that something extraordinary would happen any minute, any day, any month, by Joan Didion. I'm not going to read all of them. And obviously the famous Cole Porter line that our dearly departed Lee Gelber loved so well. Just kind of an enticement for New Yorkers to see how much we need them. And when I say New Yorkers, I mean New York area people. And then there's a brief description of what's going on here, why this is important. Kind of the third paragraph is kind of the key. By booking tours, members of the public will not only get out and explore the greatest city in the world, but they'll also be supporting small businesses that took a direct hit as a result of COVID-19. Travel is going to be one of the last sectors of our economy to bounce back, so we need New York area residents to take New York tours. It'll be a lifeline for the thousands of working tour guides here in New York City and the small businesses we patronize as well. We're going to emphasize the fact that on a lot of these tours, we patronize other small businesses, so there's kind of an echo effect as well. And then we have a couple of little fun photos down here at the bottom and another way to subscribe. So that is basically the landing page, and that's what's going to be up on the website until it is time for us to start launching. However, you will get that application when we are ready to do it. We're doing some testing on it. We're kind of just finishing the back end. Amada's been working quite hard, and if you know Amada, you know that she is 7.75 months pregnant at this point and working a full-time job, and yet she is still doing most of the web work for us. I know she's not on this call, but we greatly appreciate that. I'm going to exit full screen mode here, I think, so that I can possibly answer some questions. But Emma, or if you see some questions for me, I'm just having a little trouble getting, oh, here we go. Q&A.
Yeah, there are some questions. I'll just read them out to you, Mike. The questions actually in the Q&A. Yep. So will there be a limited number of tours listed on the Tour Your Own City website? And what is the criteria for being considered? That's from Catherine Hill.
Great question, Catherine. Thank you so much. So let me answer the second question first. All tours will be vetted by GANYC administrators before they get posted to the website. That is to just make sure that they're not, that they're appropriate, that there's nothing kind of crazy going on there. You know, for GANYC guides, certainly we already know who you are. So I would anticipate that every tour will get approved, but we just want to make sure that that everything is up to standards. By the way, as kind of a corollary to that, the non-GANYC guides and the tour operators will have to apply via Wild Apricot so they can pay their fee. And we are requiring that the tour operators specifically pledge or show that they only hire licensed New York City tour guides. We will not accept tours from any tour operator that are known to hire non-licensed guides. The second question, in terms of how many tours will you be able to list, the answer is as many as you like. The way we are planning to do this, and again, we're still building out the back end of the system, but the way we're planning to do this is that it'll kind of be, each listing will be housed under a guide's name or a tour operator's name. The members of the public will be able to search for tours by topic, by location, by language, by type of tour, public, private, bus, vehicle, things like that. But then at the bottom, you know, when you click on that specific tour, there'll be a button at the bottom that says, if you're interested in other tours by this tour guide, click here, and then they'll get a full list of your tours. Now, one thing I want to stress once again, this is not an e-commerce site. We are not booking tours directly through this site. Those sites, those links that we're going to post that you guys will upload to the site will link to your websites so they can book directly with you. We're doing this for two reasons. Number one, we don't want to get involved in the commerce part of it. Once you have a potential client, that's between you and them to work out the details or any disputes that may arise or questions or things like that. And number two, we didn't want to take any commission. We don't want, and we'd like local New Yorkers to book directly through you, not through various OTAs that would take a sizable commission. So the idea is to get as much revenue as possible into your hands directly. So like I said, we're still kind of building out the architecture of it, but that is how we hope it's going to function. I hope that.
Okay, yeah, and there are a couple more questions specifically about, you know, if a GANYC member is a tour operator, do they have to register separately?
If a GANYC member is a tour operator, do they have to operate separately? So for the purposes,
to register separately.
Register separately. For the purposes of this program, we're defining tour operators as as companies that predominantly hire multiple tour guides to run their tours. If you are a GANYC guide who mostly runs your own tours, who mostly runs your own tours, and once in a while you hire another guide to cover for you if you're double booked or something like that, then you are not considered a tour operator. You'll be considered a tour guide. If you're a tour operator and you are a GANYC industry partner, you will not have to pay the additional fee. But if you're a large company that hires lots of guides, we are going to ask you to pay the $95 fee. It's basically the same cost as becoming an industry partner.
And
yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions was, what is the fee? I'm not sure.
For GANYC guides, this is completely free. For non-GANYC licensed New York City guides, it'll be $35 to have a listing with as many tours as you like on the site. And that is through October 31st, 2020. That is the end of our fiscal year. We'll certainly reevaluate when we get there if this is still necessary. And as I mentioned, for tour operators, the fee will be $95, which is the cost of becoming an industry partner. And again, that will be to have your tours listed through the end of October of this year. And we'll reevaluate at that time what needs to happen with this program, depending on what's going on in the world.
And then last question, will the listing be for walking tours or virtual, for walking tours only, or also for virtual and / self-guided tours as well?
Great question. So we will have a listing for virtual tours, but it is not our intent to make that a major separate push. If people are interested in finding virtual tours, they can check that on the checkbox and see it, see those tours that are available. But the main goal of this project is for when we are allowed to start leading tours again, to encourage local New York area residents to take tours, because as most travel industry experts are predicting, even once the quarantine is lifted, it's going to take a while for travel to bounce back, both because of economic issues and travel infrastructure issues. So the idea behind this is to really market tours to local area New York residents, so New York, Long Island, Westchester, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, with the idea that they can get into New York City fairly easily to take tours. So that is really the goal, the mission of Tour Your Own City.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. Now, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yes,
or...
absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And we'll go back to seeing everyone in just a moment. Let's see, any more? Oh, there are 2 more questions up there.
Yeah, I can answer them while I'm doing this. So just
okay,
feel free to
perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, great. So yeah, did you see those questions now, Mike?
I do. So Debbie Mason, yeah. Will private tours be marketed also? Absolutely. This is not just about public tours. Any kind of tour that is given in New York City, public, private, as you heard, virtual as well. There will be options to search for those. One other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that we are going to have kind of a separate classification or notification for GANYC members. Even though we're offering this to the tour guide community at large, this is a GANYC initiative, so GANYC members will kind of be, to quote George Orwell, first among equals, I guess. We felt that that was a very important thing for our members to enjoy, perk to enjoy. The other question from Robin London, how will this be advertised? That's kind of the next phase we're moving into right now. We've had a lot of discussions internally about what our PR direction will be. One of the things will be a heavy social media push, which is being spearheaded by Megan Murad, who those of you who tuned into the PDP the other day know she has kind of become a bit of a social media maven, and she's been coming up with lots of good ideas. And we are curating press lists, and we are discussing whether we want to pay for advertising or not. We haven't gotten there quite yet.
Great. Any other questions? I see one more popped up.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a repeat question from Bill Goodhart. Once we start accepting tours to be uploaded to the site, all GANYC members will receive an email so that they can start uploading their tours. As I said, the tours will still have to be okayed by a GANYC administrator. And we're asking everybody to give us 48 hours from the time you submit your tours to the time you would see them live on the site. So no forms yet. You guys don't have to do anything yet, but we just wanted to update you, show you kind of the landing page, and let you know that things are progressing, and stay tuned.
Great. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Amada. I know she's not here, but really huge applause to all of you. Megan Murad, I know she's editing videos like mad, and everybody's been working really incredibly hard on this. So
Actually, Emma, one more thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say a big thank you to those of you who submitted videos for the intro video that that Megan is editing together to kind of explain this process for those who don't want to read everything on the website. Not every GANYC member was asked to submit a video. So if you were not asked, don't feel excluded. It's not going to be promoting specific tours. It's really just kind of introducing the program. So it's not like you're missing any opportunities. If you upload your tours, you will have the same exposure as any other guide will have. So thank you.
Yes. So so thank you, Michael. And this is another great idea, and hopefully we'll be getting out there and we will be touring the city. I know I can't wait. Yes, all of us are getting a little screened out, a little COVIDed out here. So so I really think that's it. I don't know if any of the other board members have anything to contribute, who have anything that they'd like to add. Just unmute yourself and feel free to talk. We just look in the chat. Any last, if there are any last questions or any last comments? Otherwise, I think we're pretty much done here. Okay, so let me unmute all my panelists. Okay, all right, so comments from the board? Everyone's good?
Stay safe, stay healthy.
If you would like to support, if you would like to make a statement of support for the proposed legislation, please email it to the board at GANYC.org. board@GANYC.org.
Okay, and everyone else? All right, so thank you guys. Thank you for another great meeting. This has been recorded, and Jeremy is making a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Second the motion. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, GANYC, once again. I love connecting with everybody virtually. Our little Brady Bunch right here. The board, we'll probably have another meeting in 10 minutes, I guess. So, all right. Be well, everybody. Wash your hands. Have a great night. Thank you guys so much. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.